This is TWiT.
Okay, another near constant event that I choose to only cover periodically, actually you and I talked about it after we stopped recording last week, Leo, is horrendous problems occurring in QNAP NAS software. You know, it's just constant. Since it's entirely possible to run a non-QNAP OS on their QNAP hardware, I dearly hope that anyone listening to this podcast will have switched out QNAP's constantly disappointing firmware for any of the Linux or Unix alternatives that are known to run on the hardware. In fact, QNAP's own platform is a Linux derivative, so you can do that. And if you do, and you know, again, Google will show you how. And if you do need to remain with QNAP, please, by all means, protect it from the public internet. We've talked about many ways to do that in the past. Even now, QNAP themselves has told their own users not to expose their devices to the internet, despite the fact that they're networked storage.
The whole point.
Okay. I know.
Okay.
I know. Okay, so Deadbolt is both a ransomware and a ransomware group that has been plaguing QNAP users and their devices throughout 2022, all year. Since January, thousands of QNAP customers have reported being attacked by the Deadbolt ransomware group. The group demands a ransom of 0.03 Bitcoin, currently around $1,100, for the decryption key. After the initial attacks affected about 3,600 devices last January, the group continued to resurface with campaigns in March, May, and June of this year. They're a persistent bunch. Reddit and other message boards have been flooded with customers lamenting the loss of files that included family photo albums, wedding videos, and more. You know, irreplaceable things. Dozens of users took to Reddit to complain that they were among those attacked in the latest campaign. In a note to QNAP, the hackers demanded 5 Bitcoin, which would be about just shy of $94,000, to reveal details about the alleged zero-day vulnerabilities they initially used to attack its users, and another 50 Bitcoin, which is just shy of $1 million, to release a master decryption key that would unlock all of their victims, their users' victim files. Now, QNAP would not say whether it has considered paying the ransom for the universal decryption key, which is to say, no. But we can be pretty sure that's not going to happen also when a spokesman said the company's research, so this is the QNAP spokesman, said the company's research has shown that the Deadbolt group is attacking legacy versions with known vulnerabilities which have security updates available. Okay, sounds logical, reasonable, maybe true. In other words, they're saying it's the user's fault, not theirs. So they should pay if they want their data back. Now, some users have disputed QNAP's insistence that only devices that have not been updated are being attacked. And this kind of seems reasonable since the group behind this, the Deadbolt group, are coming up with new ways to do this all the time. And here's a little bit of a gotcha. If ransom is paid, the key provided by Deadbolt may not work. So the security company we've talked of several times, MSciSoft, released its own version of a Deadbolt decryptor after several victims reported having issues with the one they received in exchange for paying a ransom. However, it's not any sort of universal decryptor. It only works with a decryption key supplied by the operators of the Deadbolt ransomware through a ransom payment. MSciSoft's Fabian Wosar tweeted, QNAP users who got hit by Deadbolt and paid the ransom are now struggling to decrypt their data because a forced firmware update issued by QNAP removed the payload that is required for decryption. Okay, so this got so bad finally that QNAP took matters into their own hands and forced a firmware update onto their customers, which broke the ability for the ransomware payment after receiving the decryption key to function. So, wow, MSciSoft came along and said, okay, we'll fix that for you, and they did. What a mess. Earlier this year, the security company Census, who runs that IoT search engine, remember, we've often talked about Shodan. There's now another kid in town, Census, and they're doing neat things. Anyway, they have a search engine that goes wide and deep for IoT stuff. They reported, and a QNAP NAS is considered an IoT device. They reported that of the total 130,000 QNAP NAS devices sold, 4,988, so just shy of 5,000 of those servers exhibited the telltale signs of this specific piece of ransomware. So about 5,000 compromises. Census also managed to track the Bitcoin wallet transactions associated with an infection and found that of the previous batch of victims, 132 paid ransoms totaling about $188,000. So, this is making money for someone who is saying, we'll give you all of the stuff you've lost on your NAS for $1,000 in Bitcoin. 132 people in that particular batch did so. The Census also created a dashboard to track the number of victims around the world. The majority of the most recent infections are taking place in the U.S., Germany, and the U.K. And it's not over. Since all of that, and this is really what finally caused this to rise above my QNAP threshold, Census observed that the number of QNAP NAS devices infected by the same Deadbolt ransomware spiked from 2,144 which was the count on July 9th, to 19,029 on September 4th, which was Sunday before last. The spike arose because the ever-industrious Deadbolt gang exploited, yes, another new zero-day vulnerability in the Photo app, or the Photo Station app, which is installed on most QNAP NAS systems. So they're finding more new ways in. And again, if you have a QNAP NAS with QNAP software, get it off the internet. And if you can, put in a replacement software set. And it is possible. There are third-party solutions for QNAP. Oh, and before we leave the Census Internet Scanning Company, it's worth noting that they recently published a 2022 State of the Internet report, which observed that misconfigurations accounted for 60% of the issues they observed across all internet-exposed services globally.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They found that the software problems only accounted for 12% of all observed problems. That is, software vulnerabilities. So all of these problems are misconfigurations. Now, it's unclear whether placing a QNAP NAS onto the internet would inherently be considered a misconfiguration of those devices, but it seems pretty clear that it should be. You do not want to put one of those things on the net.